Hello my friends, this is Paul and welcome to A Common Touch of Fantasy. I'm continuing my top 20 books of 2015. This is numbers 15 through 11. So 15 through 11. And the first book, number 15, is House of Chains by Steven Erikson. During 2015, I've read 5 Malazan books. And this House of Chains is the fourth book in the series, and it is also my 15th favorite book of the year. I give this a 4 out of 5. It's a high 4 out of 5. And this is the type of book that actually gets better after you've read it and think about it. Uh, the introduction of Karsa Orlong to the Malazan universe was fantastic. Karsa is this huge warrior guy that is very ignorant of the world, and he is just a fantastic character, and I really enjoy him. He's the type that is going to attack first, ask questions later. What was great about House of Chains was the importance that assassins played in this story, and I love assassins in stories. I think they're fantastic, and I think that Malazan does assassins better than any other series so far. And this is basically the ultimate book in the Malazan series as far as assassins goes that I've read so far. Absolutely loved this and can't recommend the Malazan Book of the Fallen series enough. And House of Chains, my 15th favorite book of the year. Okay, my 14th favorite book of the year, and the first book on the list to get a 5 out of 5 rating. So the rest of these books will all have a 5 out of 5 rating. And the 14th favorite book of the year is The Storied Life of A.J. Fikri by Gabrielle Zevin. This is the only contemporary book on my list, and this shows to me that I can love contemporary literature. And I really like this book just because they talk about literature and reading in such a great light in this book, and it got me more interested in wanting to read older works of fiction, got me interested in reading more short fiction, and it's just a great story about a guy that owns a bookstore, and he's a grumpy guy, but he finds love, he finds life, and his entire life changes. And I just found it to be a great read, and surprisingly plot heavy, that kept me extremely interested, and there was a lot of twists and turns, and I really enjoyed it. And I can't recommend it enough for people that want to try contemporary but don't really know where to go. People that don't really read contemporary often, I would definitely recommend The Storied Life of A.J. Fikri by Gabrielle Zevin. Number 13, Dead House Gates by Steven Erikson. Book 2 of Malazan Book of the Fallen series. I read the first book, and I enjoyed the first book, Gardens of the Moon. And so going into Dead House Gates, I was expecting something similar to Gardens of the Moon. But Steven Erikson decides no. What you expect in the next book is not what I'm going to give you. And that has been a theme with the entire story, the entire series. You basically expect something that completely different than what you actually read before. Dead House Gates did something that other fantasy books haven't done for me this year. I read this earlier in the year, and when I read it, I realized how well a fantasy author could write, and how well a author could write intelligently, and how that intelligence will then transfer over to world building. And that's what happened to me during Dead House Gates. Fantastic book, and Erikson just proved to me that he's one of the smartest people working in fantasy and in writing. And when people criticize fantasy and speculative fiction as being easier to write than other fiction, I just think of this book and how detailed and intricate it really is. And not anyone can write fantasy this well. So when people say, "Oh yeah, I can write a fantasy book," I think, yeah, it's a lot harder than what you think. And Stephen Erickson showed how to do it properly and intelligently. It's a fantastic book. Also, Dead House Gates is the book that I rate all other books on when it comes to 5-star ratings. Uh, it is the lowest 5-star rating book that I want to give. So when I think about giving a book a 5-star rating, I have to have enjoyed it more than Dead House Gates for me to give it a 5-star rating. That's how I compare books by that one book. Number 12. I've read a lot of graphic novels this year. A lot of them didn't work for me, and then there were some that really worked for me. The one that I like the most, and the only graphic novel to be in my top 20, is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I love this graphic novel. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I got it from my library. I still need to pick up a physical copy for myself. Fantastic book. I loved the characters in the book. I loved the quirkiness, the art, the story. It was just such a feel-good book, and I just really enjoyed it. And I highly recommend it to people that find graphic novels that have a lot of violence and sex in them to be immature, and like a lot of vulgarity in graphic novels. If that annoys you, as it does me at times, I would definitely recommend Nimona because it's just a feel-good story, but it is well written and the plot is fantastic. Okay, book number 11 of 2015 is A Moveable Feast by Ernest Hemingway. I give this a 5 out of 5 as well. And A Moveable Feast is a nonfiction book, memoir, of Hemingway's life in Paris, France. And at the time, he was trying to figure out how to be a good writer, how to develop his skills as a writer, and he was reading a lot of great fiction and great writers, and he was meeting a lot of influential people, and it was just a great story to read about, to see where he came from as a writer and the influences that he had in Paris at the time. And I just like this book so much because it shows how much writing means to Hemingway, how much reading means to him, how much literature means to everybody. But the thing that made this book really good for me is that I realized that our lives are made up of moments. Some moments are these perfect little bubbles that are just fantastic and great things happen. And while Hemingway was living in Paris, that was his bubble. That was his moment in his life where things worked the best for him, things clicked, he was happy. And then after this, after he cheated on his wife, his entire life kind of went way downhill. And he became a very different person than the person that he was while he was living in Paris. And it was so sad to me to find out what happened to him later in life and the man that he became. And you would never even think that while reading this book because he was just such a happy person while living in Paris. And when I think about like being sad, being happy, things like that, I think about this book and think about how, you know, our lives are just made up of these moments, moments of sadness, moments of happiness. But that's just life. Everyone has these special moments or these bad moments. And it's just life in general. And I really enjoyed that book and highly recommend it. Okay, that is numbers 15 through 11. Thank you for watching. 10 through 6 will be coming up next week, probably Monday-ish. Hope everyone has a great Christmas. This will be the last video I make before Christmas. So have a great Christmas. Spend it with the people that you love. Spend it with people that really care about you. And I hope you all get some amazing books. Thanks for watching.